What's up, guys? Time for my Spider-Man review, which I saw the movie probably about almost a week ago, and I've been putting off this movie because this video is not going to go over very well because I'm not on the side of the fence that the majority is on, and I think I have good reasons for my beliefs. But hey, everyone wants to argue with me, but whatever it is. This was possibly a good movie that has several things, including one massive thing that ruins the movie. So if you're just a Spider-Man guy, you're gonna love the movie, sure, no problem. If you don't care about anything else, you're gonna love the movie. I'm sure you'll say it's a 10 out of 10. It's making $3 billion probably at the movie theater because it's absolutely obliterating everything. Because it's Spider-Man and the casuals will just go nuts over Spider-Man. Heart-wise, I want to give the movie a 4. But taking into effect of the rest of the, putting in, trying to think of what the movie is overall, 6.5 is where I'll settle. It could have been higher. I could overlook even some of the flaws if they changed one major thing about the movie. And it's pretty should if anybody knows, especially if you know my shelf right here next to me on my computer. The top shelf is all Godzilla. But if you know this shelf right here, you would know. Whoops. Speaking of, I just knocked her on the ground. Here, I'll leave you here because we'll show you off to the group in a minute here. You would know that I have serious issues with this movie. So I mean that's the TRDR. It's overall, I mean, if you're not a Marvel fan, it's a good movie. If you're just a Spider-Man fan and you're just a casual whatever fan, sure, it's a good movie. If you're a really big Marvel fan and a really big fan of certain characters in the movie, it sucks. So let's go to the spoiler section. So I'm not going to do the whole recap of that. I normally don't. I'll try and keep it. I'm going to probably rave enough about some of this other stuff. This video is going to be super long, anyways. Spider-Man's dealing with isolation and alone stuff, and because the last movie, which is also super over the toply overglazed, is not the story for that movie is absolutely ridiculously stupid as well. About the whole making everybody forget that he exists, even there's so many plot holes on reason why you can't make Peter Parker not exist. He's in yearbook photos. He has newspaper photos that have been associated with him. He's got his name on different places. How's he get a job? How's he have a social security card if no one knows who Peter Parker is? Offers are he wanted marriage, so we're not going to rave about that movie. That movie just got a lot of stupidity stuff in it as well. Usually, the movies that everyone loves have like the stupidest plot lines, and everyone just glazes over the top of the fact that their storyline is stupid and just what the action is cool. Toby's in the movie and Andrew's in the movie. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. The cameos were great. The movie itself was stupid. So this falls in the same way. It's got some good stuff. It does have, and this one does have some good story beats to it. But there's a lot of stuff that's just stupid. This is the best Tom's ever been as Spider-Man. He feels like Spider-Man for once, not Iron Man Jr. His chemistry with John Berthel's Punisher, absolutely great. They're great together. I love all their stuff together. Where we start having issues. So the Hand is in this movie. First, we'll start with some of the minor stuff. This is the stuff I could have gotten over. The Hand is in this movie. The Hand are young Gen Z ninjas with like electro weapons that have like electricity running through them that work for the Department of Damage Control. I'm assuming that's a government entity, right? So they work for the government to help them with their cause. So okay, that's first off, nothing who the Hand is from the comic books, but okay, you want to change the Hand, except for there's just one big glaring problem with changing the Hand. They're already in the MCU. They're in Daredevil, and they're nothing like this version of the Hand. They don't even match the Daredevil Hand. So that's already stupid. They're there because the director's like, you know what's cool? Ninjas. Let's put ninjas in the movie and have Spider-Man fight some ninjas. Oops, sorry. Because stupidity. Because this director feels like this director's just doing stupid stuff just because he wants to do stupid stuff. So there's that. So there, and then let's go to the one that I kind of knew this one. I've had a feeling. I just was wrong about the timing. Was they advertised the Scorpion is the big villain that's going to be Spider-Man villain that's going to be in the movie. And I saw the trailer. Like, I feel like the Scorpion's only going to be in like the first 30 seconds of the movie. Spider-Man's going to own his ass. And he's a red herring. He's not definitely not the main villain. We already know there's somebody else doing from the trailers doing other stuff. Oh, he's only in the movie for 30 seconds. It's just like 30 minutes into the movie. And he also has always been the Scorpion because him having a giant tail did not surprise Peter at all. He was used to it. So somewhere between Homecoming and now he's fought the Scorpion already with the tail. Because we want to have a Spider-Man villain movie. There's also some cameos at the beginning of some other Spider-Man villains that get like a little brief there. To be honest, I actually missed that minute of the movie because I was waiting on my popcorn still, my concession stand stuff to be filled because I was a little late. I don't get the movies on time because of I don't want to watch 50 minutes of trailers. And I was a little late to get to this movie, and so I was still waiting on my food when the movie actually started. So I did miss some cameos that were at the beginning of the movie, which hey, cool, whatever, you know. But yeah, the Scorpion is a complete red herring. It's barely in the movie at all. Whatever, I could get past that too. I can forgive that. Then the trailers also tease that there's something happening to Peter. He's mutating because they're going with this mutation thing as the tease for what we're about to talk about. And so everyone's thinking, oh, it's the man spider stuff, right? You're gonna do the man spider. He's like mutating and stuff like that. And so the movie, he's getting these issues. He's having these headaches. His arachnid levels DNA supposedly are spiking. He grows biological web shooters in his hands like Tobey Maguire does. Is it because he's turned into the man spider? No, it's because he's feeling isolated and anxiety from being alone and blah, 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 blah. And he's not accepting this part of his body. And then at a certain point, he's just like, I accept everything. And now he's healed and fine. He grew biological web. Okay, the headaches and stuff like that, and maybe some of the levels. Okay, he grew biological web shooters. Anxiety doesn't make you mutate parts of your body. I'm alone. I have anxiety. Where's my superpower? So like that's stupid. It's like yeah, the story does a great job about the isolation alone stuff, but him doing they just no, it's so stupid. All right, so let's get to my main beef with the movie. It involves this lady right here. So as you can see, I have two sides. I have a Cyclops figures. I have the Jean Grey X-Men 97 figure. I have the Goblin Queen 97 figure. Then I have a couple of Funkos of Phoenix Jean and another Cyclops. I'm a huge Cyclops and Jean fan. That's my favorite two comic book characters. So, and well, the first version of the Fox movies, they didn't do a great job with them. They focused more on Wolverine and Jean because everyone, for some reason, they always want to push the Wolverine and Jean stuff. And it's like, totally, it doesn't even fit. Sorry. And then they brought it back and tried to do it again with Sophia Turner, who's whatever, and at least they didn't do Scott as dirty in those movies. He still was still made him a nothing burger, and then the new X-Men 97 came out, and felt like this new focus on Cyclops, which is awesome. He's getting game, he's in Marvel Rivals now, he's in this new Marvel Token, he's going to be a big DLC character in the Marvel Token game. Like, all right, finally people are coming around on Cyclops, man. You're giving the guy a little bit more respect than he's gotten so far in the main eye. But now I'm kind of worried about that because this movie absolutely butchers his girlfriend. Jean is awful. This isn't Jean Grey. This is nothing like Jean Grey. But you got to make changes. No, they don't. This is the whole point of why we wanted Fox to give the shit back to Marvel is so they could do the comic accurate shit. They've already fucked up the Fantastic Four's rebirth. That was an okay movie, but it didn't go as well. It didn't go where it needed to go. And now I'm starting to say, yeah, I don't know about the X-Men. Granted, I saw the guy that supposedly he's playing Cyclops. He looks good for the part, but are they going to get his backstory right? Is he going to be an orphan? Is he going to murder people before becoming into Charles Xavier? This is just not. There's also the wrong spot to this play. Have a brand new actress playing Jean Grey show up, because the next movie is Doomsday. You're bringing back the Fox X-Men for their last sell off to the sunset. But they're all, let's be honest, between this and Secret Wars, they're going to probably kill them off. For the you can already pretty much expect that, to relaunch the Marvel Universe with bring back all the characters new and starting everybody from scratch, like all that shit. You shouldn't introduce your new X-Men team, any member of it, before you wrapped up the story. I also think Doomsday is going to be an overglazed mess as well. I don't think it's going to be that good. I think Doom 3 is going to be better. I'll be honest, right there. Boom. Saying it right now. What is it, 5-6 months ahead? Doom 3 is going to be better than Doomsday. Guarantee it. We'll see. But so Jean Grey, the first spot of her in this movie is we don't know it obviously, but she's possessing an old lady to drive a tank, shooting a machine gun, blowing things up, ramming through cars, sending cop cars flying that we see Spider-Man dodge. He doesn't save the cop cars, by the way. He just dodges them. So those cops, dead. Any bystander on the street, a lot of bystanders on the street, dead. There's collateral damage of people getting killed. That you can pretend, oh no, we didn't see anyone die. We didn't see anybody die in Man of Steel when Zod and Superman were destroying half of Metropolis either, did we? But he clearly killed thousands and thousands of people in that scene. They even addressed that part in the next fucking movie because they couldn't avoid it, because everyone said, yes, Superman just killed a bunch of people. Because they made the big deal like he had to kill Zod. Zod was the only guy. No, they killed tons of people in that movie. When you have a whole bunch of collateral damage going on, people get hurt. A tank speeding down the streets, ramming and destroying shit in New York, the busiest place in the world, is going to kill people. So people die. The tank she ends up having a bomb in the tank that she blows up, killing more, that would have killed more people. All to break Scorpion out of jail because she wants to mind control Scorpion for his 30-second cameo, because he really doesn't do anything mighty. So, okay, so we're introduced. So that's our introduction of Jean. She's a fuck up. She's a straight up super villain at this point. She's doing super villain shit. So then she starts taunting Spider-Man by jumping around the different people. And she jumps into an old dude and then walks him in front of a speeding car, most likely killing him or severely maiming and injuring him. Attempted manslaughter at the least. Just to taunt Spider-Man, by the way. From there we get this whole little thing where she can't jump into his mind because he's super protected for mental controls, even though he's not actually that protected against mental controls. I mean, Doc Ock took over his body for fuck's sake. Charles Xavier and Jean Grey would easily be able to enter Spider-Man's mind. But whatever. She learns about MJ, his situation with MJ, so she starts a race that she's going after his girlfriend. Now, I guess they'll make the excuse that, really, she thinks he's working for damage control. Well, she could easily got a piece of him to know that he's not. You could easily talk to Spider-Man. Spider-Man's not the hardest guy to talk to. He's like, you can have a conversation about shit. But she gets into MJ, pretends to be MJ. There's going to be the big argument about while controlling MJ, she pretends she remembers him and kisses him. So that's kind of goes back to that whole Wonder Woman 84 thing when she wishes her dead boyfriend into this body of another dude, and she had slept with a guy, and so that's sort of like against his will consent. Well, this is kind of making MJ kiss Peter against her consent. So you could go down. That's a rabbit hole you could easily go down as well. Not discrediting that, but it does end with him revealing that she's in control, and she walks her off a roof to fall to her death, and then jumps out of her. So Peter is forcing Peter to have to try and save her, but she does this smiling, trying to kill his ex-girlfriend, who she has also entered the mind of, and knows that she has no recollection of who Peter Parker is. So there's no real, what she's doing to her is she's also, once again, trying to eliminate an innocent person. This is Jean Grey, one of the founding members of the X-Men, one of the most morally high ground people of all. This is the woman who has risked her life many times. She has saved evil, mutant haters, bigots, friends of humanity, supervillains. She will save their life because it's morally right to do. But we're supposed to believe that this character is all doing all this. And the big reveal is the reason she's doing it is because someone kidnapped her sister. Their mother abandoned them. Jean Grey's backstory was not abandoned by her parents. Her parents absolutely loved Jean Grey. They did everything they could to help Jean Grey when her powers came on. They sought help from doctors. They found Charles Xavier. They were happy to have her. They supported her going to learn how to control her powers with Charles Xavier. They were worried about her when she had the Phoenix powers, that she was taking on too much power. They came to her in Scott's wedding. They died because they supported their daughter. But now in the MCU, they abandoned her. She's the only X-Men, one of the only X-Men that has supportive family. If you want trauma, parental trauma in the X-Men, you could use Cyclops. You could use Bobby. You could use, even Warren had some trauma with his family not wouldn't hide his powers. Rogue, Storm. There's plenty of it to go around. Without taking away the backstory of one of the characters who actually had the good family thing that was supposed to be her thing. She's kind of shielded by the fact that she had a good upbringing compared to other members of the team who had to suffer. That's why she's more open and outreaching to them, and helps her want to bond with them more to help them, because she has this moral beginning to being a good person. But yeah. So her sister gets kidnapped, and so she's on a vindictive run to save her sister. So she's doing all this shit to save her sister. So we already know that all she has to do is mind control the security guard of the building, of the damage control, and then she can hop into another person, and hop into another person, hop into another person, and find her way all the way up to the top. So there was like a least aggressive way of doing this without endangering innocent people. Wouldn't make much of a movie though. Let's talk about those powers. So for the majority of the movie, her power is she can jump into your brain and control you, and takes over your body. Now there's a limit. You have to be within 33 feet for her to jump into your body. But once she jumps into you, she can then jump another 33 feet and another 33 feet, or she can take the one person she's controlling and she can go like the fucking California if she wants to and still control the person. So once she's inside their brain, she can go anywhere she's controlling them. She can take them anywhere she wants. She can go miles and miles away from herself and then jump into somebody else. So this whole space limit thing is kind of stupid, to be honest. It's like, oh well, 33 feet, but then it extends every time she jumps into somebody. That is the stupidest sounding. First off, that concept alone is just stupid. Second off, mind control. Technically, she can do it, but does she typically do it? No. Charles Xavier typically doesn't do mind control. Jean's use of her powers is telekinesis, which we don't really see her do much of anything of it. I guess you could say when towards the end, when she does her freezing everybody, which we'll talk about that too, because that makes no logical sense either. And there's a reason I think they did it. Also, the mind controlling thing, I think there's a reason behind this as well. So, but she uses telekinesis. She can read people's minds. She can go through their memories. She can find their trauma. She can find what makes them tick. She can throw a mental suggestion to somebody like, hey, go bark like a dog, like hypnosis. Rarely does she ever actually possess the mind of someone and control them. Nor does Charles Xavier. I mean, I'm sure they've done it in the comics. I can't really name any instances of where they did it in the comics. But that's usually a high level power, and they have to take a high level of focus to do that. She's doing this as an intro power to her powers. That's the only power she thinks she has. By the way, the person who does the mind control stuff is a character called the Shadow King, a villain. Has connections to Storm. So they're taking his powers and they're pretty much making that Jean's powers. So we see her and her sister, and her sister's just pretty much going through it, showing her how to do it, teaching her how to mind. Well, you can't go that far. You got to hop into this person. Now hop into that person. Oh, that's how you do it. She's controlling her powers, but so she's got full control of this mind control power. She's not struggling to use it. She knows how to. Then the big reveal part is some trauma. She finds out her sister was killed by the test that they were trying to push her powers. She unlocks her full potential. She does this big thought bubble that freezes everybody. Because, hey, did you watch the Fox X-Men movies? Do you remember when Charles Xavier mind controlled people to talk to Magneto? Well, there's your mind control. Wow, that was cool. Let's make Jean do that. Hey, you remember when Charles Xavier freezes people in place? That was cool. Let's have Jean do that. The Fox movies having Charles like freeze people is absolutely stupid. It makes no sense at all. Because sure, he could paralyze people. That wouldn't stop cars from moving. That wouldn't stop planes from moving. That would cause lots, if not checked well, that would cause lots of deaths. So she does this in the big section. She does this huge thing in New York. People should have died from this because cars would still move. Her powers don't freeze vehicles. She can freeze a person with her mind just by freeze them up, sure, but the car would still keep going. Buses would keep going. Subways would still keep going. She doesn't. That would be something Magneto would control with the cars and shit. So yeah, that's the whole problem with the whole free. Yeah, it looks cool on film, but in concept, that's not really smart because that would lead to lots of injuries and deaths and stuff like that. But hey, it looks cool. Where we got the personalities wrong, the backstory's wrong, the powers were not even done that well, and I've got an argument. So these people that are they claim to be X-Men fans, and they always talk about, well, Jean can be evil. Dark Phoenix. You've clearly never read the Dark Phoenix saga. So here's a little recap of the Dark Phoenix saga. The X-Men go to outer space because a villain, I believe it was Eric the Red, I want to say, I could be wrong on that, was at a space station, and people, so they went there to save a scientist and the astronauts. So they save a hand for a moment. I believe their ship gets damaged on the way to the space because they don't have their X jet yet. So the space shuttle gets damaged on the re-entry. When it's trying to leave the space station, which I believe is exploded, and there's the radiation from entering the planet, or they encounter a solar storm or some snot, and everyone's going to die. They do have this pod in the back of the shuttle that they can put everyone in that will protect them from the radiation, but someone still has to pilot the ship. So the only person who has the capability of possibly pulling this off was Jean Grey, because she was going to shield herself with her telekinesis, the power you guys forget that she has, as she believes she could try and protect herself by that way. It's a highly risky move that no one thinks she's going to be able to pull off. She even has to, she has the mental suggestion of knocking out Scott, not controlling Scott. She knocks him out because he won't let her do it. So they put everybody in the pod while she tries to do it, and sure enough, she can't keep up the mental projection, and it's failing, and she's going to die. So she's sacrificing herself to save everyone's life. This is where a cosmic entity, a life form, not part of Jean Grey, an actual cosmic life form called the Phoenix is there. And it swoops in and sees what she's doing, and it is pretty much amazed by her. So it comes and interacts with her to protect her and save her, to help her. And then from the original comic line, because this did change shortly afterwards, it bonds with her, and it becomes part of her. If you know Spider-Man, then you should know that this is called a symbiote, right? Your symbiotes, your Venom and Carnages. That's how they work. It bonded with her, and it does a lot of hero stuff for a while, and then comes the Hellfire Club, who sees the power of Jean's powers, and they believe they want her powers on their team. So that's where they get what's his name, Mastermind. Then enters the plan to try to sway her to join the Hellfire Club by giving her these mental dreams and illusions and stuff like that to trick her to thinking she belongs with him. And in the process of doing this, this is what helps the Phoenix. This unleashes the Phoenix's dark side. The Phoenix has a dark side, and it starts engulfing her, and it starts taking it. So that the evil part of the Phoenix, and it becomes growing and growing, and it's hunger, and it ends up possessing Jean. It makes her do some bad things. The X-Men then are able to bring her back down and bring her back. Help her take back over. It helps Jean take over the Phoenix. But this time the damage has already been done, and the Shi'ar now see the Phoenix as a threat to the universe, and they have sentenced her to death. The X-Men want to fight for her, and then it leads to this big battle on the moon for the life of Jean Grey. Jean, realizing that the X-Men are all going to die to defend her, decides that the best thing to do is to sacrifice herself so that the X-Men can live. So she gives her life for the X-Men. So the whole Dark Phoenix is about her sacrificing herself to save others. So even the Dark Phoenix doing its bad stuff for this couple issues in the whole saga that it was bad is about her losing control to this entity, regaining it, realizing that she has to make the ultimate sacrifice again that she was making at the beginning. Now, so that's the actual Dark Phoenix saga. Now, then, like a year, I think later or so, because they also did this because this was also the plan was to do this to get rid of the old school X-Men because Cyclops went off to be with Madeline Pryor. They were writing off all the old teams so they could bring in the new team and to have the new team take over. Well, then there was the desire to bring back the old team came up, and they wanted that's where X Factor started. But they had to come up with a way to do that. So what they ended up doing was saying that Jean Grey was found in a stasis pod at the bottom of the Jamaica Bay. At the bottom of the bay, found by the Fantastic Four. And they called the original X-Men people. They called pretty much, I think it was Warren Worthington, who they first contacted, who reached out to the other members of the original X-Men team, and they all kind of came this because they all couldn't believe it was Jean. And this is where we get some gray areas with Cyclops because he technically leaves his wife and kid at the time, who was a split image copy of Jean Grey. So they were trying to give him the happy ending of he found another Jean Grey. But like I said, they wanted to bring her back. So they ended up retconning the fact that Jean Grey was never the Phoenix. The Phoenix just took her on her form, and it was always just the Phoenix. While Jean Grey was recuperating in this healing from her radiation sickness, poisoning, whatever you want to call it, at the bottom of the bay. So either way you look at it, the Dark Phoenix saga is about redemption of of a morally good character, sacrifice herself, being possessed by an entity that turned evil, and be able to reestablish herself over top of that to overcome it, to sacrifice herself again, or it wasn't even her to begin with. So now I think they've probably done more stuff in the more recent days to try and connect her with the Phoenix more again. So everybody who's using the Dark Phoenix excuse is getting the whole story of the Dark Phoenix wrong. Because that's not at all. And by the way, Dark Phoenix happened. Jean Grey had been a hero for 20-something years before she had her only, and that's her only super villain turn in the comics, and it lasted like 3 issues of a comic book. And ever since then, she's typically always been with maybe here and there little iffy moments, like some gray area moments here and there, but she's mostly always been a good character for the rest of her comic lifestyle. So yeah, crying Dark Phoenix doesn't work. Well, it's MCU, you gotta make changes. That once again goes against the whole reason you wanted the X-Men to go back to Marvel to begin with for the source material. They're already showing that they're morally changing a massive character. What are they going to do with the other characters? How are we going to change them? I mean, Rogue's trauma is supposed to be she kissed the boy and put him in a coma. And she actually supposed to start as a supervillain. So hey, Jean, she's gonna be like, "I kissed the boy, a boy about home." She's like, "Yeah, I murdered people in New York because my sister was kidnapped." Well, there goes Rogue's whole trauma. But so yeah, this character's just completely off. They just didn't get anything right. And supposedly it wasn't because they wanted to introduce the X-Men. Supposedly the director wanted a teenage villain that's isolated and alone like Spider-Man. Well, that's you. So you asked specifically for Jean Grey, even though that's not Jean Grey's story at all. You could use Typhoid Mary. She has mind control powers and could have probably fit into that role. Uh, but Mr. Negative has mind control powers. I mean, you wouldn't be that isolated alone part. He would be a villain. But you're taking a character just for the name of, well, she has mind powers. And I remember I watched this Fox X-Men movie, and there's some cool stuff like mind control and freezing people. And I think that's cool. So I want a person I can do that with. That's all. That's what this really feels like it was. He just wanted to copy stuff that he saw in the Fox movies to use it to tell a story. So yes, ranted. So that's why I didn't go too much recap. We have ranted on this for an hour. But yeah, this ruined the movie for me. This is like the second. I mean, the only thing that's ever been worse about this is when they killed Cyclops in the first 5 minutes of The Last Stand, and I literally almost walked out of that movie because of that. This is like the second worst of anything X-Men since that movie. It's the worst thing of X-Men since Last Stand. That fundamentally got the characters wrong again. So yeah, there it is. So I can't give Spider-Man a high grade because I think they butchered one of my favorite characters, and I'm worried about where they're going to go with the X-Men movie. So until then, Cachorro out.